Hey guys, and welcome back to Heart of the Game. Last episode I did an unboxing video of the Super Nintendo Classic Mini, which I'm gonna call the Snes Mini from henceforth because that's just a mouthful to say. And today I'm gonna do a full review of the Snes Mini. I'm gonna go through what I thought was great about it and what I didn't think was that great. But first of all, let's talk a bit about the original Super Nintendo, the legacy of the Super Nintendo, if you will. The Super Nintendo first released in Japan in 1990, and America got it a bit before us here in Europe. They got it in 1991, and we got it overseas here in 1992. And the Super Nintendo is a really important console for me. It was the first console I ever owned that was my own and I didn't have to share with anyone. I got it hand-me-down from one of my cousins, and I actually have my original Super Nintendo here. It looks like this. This is for all you guys that are watching from America. This is how it looks like over here in Europe. And this is the look that they have in Japan for the Super Famicom, as it's called over there. So I've spent so many hours on this, playing this, enjoying so many great games, so many great RPGs, and just an amazing console and one of my absolutely favorites. So I did this in my last episode as well, comparing the sizes, but I just wanted to show you guys, and here again, this is the size comparison, what the original looks like and what the SNES Mini looks like. It could easily actually fit nearly into the cartridge slot of the original Super Nintendo. That's how big of a difference it is. And as you can see, it's very true to how the original look was like. It's just a miniature, really, of the original Super Nintendo. So yeah, let's start off by going over some of the functionalities of the SNES Mini, and let's go over the physical functions first. So of course you have your power button, which is kind of self-explanatory. Then it turns your system or console on and off, and you have what looks like to be an eject button, but also the cartridge slot is just a dud for this system, because there's actually no cartridges that will fit in there. So that's a dud, and the eject button is a dud. And then you probably have one of the most important buttons on the SNES Mini, which is the reset buttons. That puts you back in the menu and has some other functions as well that I will go over in a bit. And in the front, and initially I looked at the Super Nintendo or the SNES Classic Mini, and I noticed, like, where am I going to plug in my controllers? The controller plugs are the same as they were on the NES Classic Mini, and is basically the same plugs as was used to put the nunchuck in the Wiimote and other controllers into the Wiimote. So it was like, okay, but I saw under here, and there's a little crevice here, a hole which you can actually drag out, so that this actually comes down and it's done like that. And initially what I felt about this, it felt a bit flimsy. It was like, okay, this doesn't look good. And it's like, okay, and I put my controllers in there, and it's like, aesthetically it doesn't look good. But after I thought about it, how else could they do this? It's like, could they have it on the sides? That would just be weird and bad design. They could have put them in the back, but then you would have the cords going from the back, and if you jerk the controller a bit, you would have turned the console. So initially my thoughts was a bit like, I kind of don't like this, but I don't actually know how they could have done this differently to keep the looks like they did, you know. So initially I thought it was a bit meh, but I got over it. I think it's okay way to do it, and I just lock that back up there. On the back we have your mini USB port, which is for the power, and we have just a regular HDMI port. And I know a lot of people have been complaining that, and this is the same for the Snes Classic Mini as well, that it doesn't come with its own charger cable or power cable. It's just a regular USB cable, and I think this is the best way to do it, because what televisions or screens doesn't come with a USB port today? You just put the USB into a turned on television or screen and it has power. The Snes Mini has power and you just turn it on. And I think this saves a lot of packaging for a long cord. And I just think it's the best way to do it, actually. So I totally disagree with people when they say like, oh, we want the real power cord. So that is the physical functionalities of the Snes Mini. And as I said before, the most important button on the Super Nintendo, or the Snes Mini, I'm sorry, is the reset button. Because it doesn't function as the original reset button did on the Super Nintendo. It actually puts you back into the menu. You get when you first turn on the Snes Mini, you get a menu that lets you choose all the games between all the games you want to play, and you just choose a game and press A and you start playing, having a good time. The reset button, when you press that, it puts you back into that menu, makes a save state of what you were playing, and then you could either choose to save that save state into one of the 4 save state slots, or you can choose to rewind that save state if you messed up a bit when playing, or you can just start playing a new game all in all. This is a cool feature. I really like the way how they did this. The only thing, if I'm gonna say anything, the Snes Mini comes with 4 RPGs. It comes with Super Mario RPG, Secret of Mana, Final Fantasy 3, aka Final Fantasy 6, and Earthbound. And one of the things that I love about, because this is basically an emulation machine, and the one things I love about emulating older RPGs is that you could actually speed it up, and you could speed it, because you know the older RPGs were a bit more grindy than the RPGs we're used to today. So I actually love that when I'm emulating older RPGs, that you can do it fast, you know, just turn up how fast it goes. And this isn't the option on the Snes Mini at all, and I don't know how they would have implemented it, because it's a bit annoying that every time you have to make a save state or something, or you mess up, you have to push the reset button, you know, like if you would have emulated it. Usually you just keybind that something on your keyboard, on your PC or controller or whatever, right? And I was thinking about this, like making an extra button for this on the Snes Mini would like deviate it from its original design, and that wouldn't be very good. I know a lot of most of the games don't use their left and right shoulder buttons, so maybe they could have implemented a way to like bind the reset function to that, or even put in a speed up function to the games, so you could decide yourself. Of course that would but I don't blame them. That's like a bit of advanced functionality, and I know they don't want to deviate away from the original feel of it. Just a thought from me, you know. So yeah, that's the functionality of the system of the Snes Mini, basically. And we're gonna talk about the games and the choice Nintendo made for the games. And I gotta say, initially, I agree with the choices Nintendo made for making these games. I just think they could have added a bit more. I know that they easily could have added more games into this. I know for a fact that like space isn't the issue, but why they put some things in and left some things out, and like I really enjoyed playing. I've tried out most of the games. Like I played through Star Fox 1 and 2 basically just because I had to. They're not the best Star Fox games. I set the bar quite high when it comes to my Star Fox game, where Star Fox 64 or Loyalot Wars is like the best. But I played a lot. I played a lot of Contra 3. I played Mega Man X. I played Super Castlevania 4, Donkey Kong Country, Super Mario World, a lot, and Street Fighter 2 Turbo. I've played a lot with both my son and my girlfriend, and I gotta say, my girlfriend is really into fighting games, but usually more into Tekken and Dead or Alive and that stuff. So, and she plays them competitively. So I thought it was really good to like, because I never can beat her in Tekken or any of those games. So I was like, and I've played a lot of Street Fighter 2 back in the day, so it was cool to beat her ass in a fighting game again, because I just totally destroyed her. Not that that is a big feat when I've had so many more hours with her than her. So back to talking about the choice of games. The first thing I'm gonna mention, I really don't understand why they didn't add Chrono Trigger, which is one of the best RPGs of all time and like one of the greatest games of all time. So I think it's really weird that I didn't add that. Maybe a fifth RPG was just too much to put on this thing, and. And some of these games, it's like I'm really not into. Have never been into Kirby games, so like I understand the Kirby Superstar package with the 8 Kirby games, totally fine, great value. Kirby's Dream Course is a bit of a weird one. I really don't like that one. And Super Punch Out, I'm like, yeah, it's so and I feel like why didn't they add the Super Mario All Stars in here? It's like I just don't understand why they didn't do that. And I miss like I love and I played a lot of Donkey Kong Country as well. I love the Donkey Kong Country games, and I think they easily could have added Donkey Kong Country 2 and 3. That's really everything I really missed. I think. But I initially think it's a great choice of games, yeah. So let's talk about when we put all these things together, like how it feels, how it looks, how it actually works with the operating system or whatever you want to call it on it, and the look of it, how it feels and how it plays. It's like, and the controller is an exact copy of what it was back in the day, and the games. And when we put all these things together, we get my final verdict of what the game should get. And I give the Super Nintendo Classic Mini 8 out of 10 hearts. And it's a big amount of hearts, and the only reason for it not reaching all the way up there is basically just how I think about it. It's because it's not a full console. It's a revisitation of the Super Nintendo era, and comes pre-installed with certain number of games. And when you put all this together, 8 out of 10 hearts is as high as I can go on it. Just because I'm basically reviewing and rating what it actually is, and I can't really compare it to a full console. And just a side note, who is this SNES Mini for? And I would say that anybody who played and enjoyed the Super Nintendo era would really appreciate this. I think that the thing itself is just a really cool, for me that's a video game collector, and I love collectibles. It's a really cool collectible, and it might even be a cool intro to your kids or something into what was this Super Nintendo era. I know my son really enjoys it, and I really enjoy seeing him enjoying these games, because it's really easy and accessible way to play them. And I know most of these games are available on the Wii U, on the Nintendo eStore, and hopefully will be on the Switch soon. And so is it a mandatory thing to pick up if you want to play these games? No. But is it cool? Oh yes. So so that's what I think about it. And of course, like I compared it, I called it emulation machine on one point here, and of course you could just go and emulate these games if you wanted to, but I just think for us that really enjoys Nintendo and enjoys the collectibles, it's a really strong thing to buy, you know. So that is my review of the Super Nintendo Classic Mini. And for my next episode, I mentioned earlier that I played Mega Man X on the Snes Mini, and that's actually gonna be a blind playthrough because I've never actually played Mega Man X. I know it's unbelievable, but not everybody can play every game. I never played any of the Mega Man games when I was younger. I actually picked up the first collection of the original Mega Man games for PC and played through the first one. Was okay-ish, I would say. Wasn't the greatest game I've ever played. I'm sorry if I offended you Mega Man fanboys, but wasn't the greatest game I ever played. But as I said, I never played any of the X games. So next time I'm gonna give you my full review of Mega Man X. So I'll see you guys next time.